What can we do for you tonight?
Well, I originally was going to talk to Seth about something in
Yeah, that's
particular,
not
but
happening.
the fact that Matt's on is actually just as good. I was going to talk to him
Oh, I
about the
doubt that, but thank you.
um, satanic panic that my parents are basically still living in it, and it never quite fizzled out with them, unfortunately. And they are still quite bad. But what I did want to bring up with Matt actually was my parents are now one is 70, the other one's 71. My dad is an ex pastor. I'm a family of nine. Um, Most of my siblings are still religious. I'm one of only three that is not. Um, I was just wondering, if, I guess overall, if it's still worth trying to have conversations with people that have reached that age and they've been religious since they were in their early 20s, and have never wavered whatsoever. But I just don't know if it's still worth trying to have those conversations. They always turn into my mum in tears or, something like that. She'd say things like, I used to be her favorite and now I'm just this horrible, dirty gay man sort of thing. I came out as gay when I was early 20s. I'm 35 now. And I did not hear, I was basically shunned from them for a good 6 or 7 years. They've
Mm.
only just recently started talking to me again, but absolutely refuse to acknowledge that my partner exists. Still don't want anything to do with him. They'd rather pretend I was just, living alone. Um, they moved about 2 hours away from where I live now, so it's a bit harder for me to see them now. But it was still that I still get messages every now and then saying we're praying for you and all this sort of stuff as if I'm sick or something. Uh,
So,
but yeah,
Sam,
yes.
um, I don't have those conversations with my parents anymore. I won't say that it's because of age. There are people at any age that it might be worth talking to get them to change their beliefs. Um, I don't think
Yes.
age is the true factor, but there is something about their age and the time and that might generally make it more. Um, I don't care if your parents ever really stop believing in God or understand. I want them to stop abusing you. Um,
Yes, me too.
the notion that they didn't talk to you for ages and now they want to pretend your partner's not real. If it were me personally, and I know you get to decide where your boundaries are, and if you're wanting to, try to mend those relationships, I wouldn't focus on the religion part at all until all the other issues are sorted. Although I do
Mhm.
realize saying that they're going to run hand in hand, but you had kind of called in about satanic panic stuff. And in my case, I was more into satanic panic, backmasking, and all that stuff than my parents were. They didn't, they were already believers. They didn't care about a lot of this stuff. And yet now
Okay.
I would say that they have a different type of satanic panic, which is that I'm working for Satan. The world is, rapidly approaching the apocalypse and everything else. I don't have those conversations with my parents. I probably won't ever have those conversations again. And
Mhm.
uh, the instant that my parents decide to mistreat me or my partner, they'll get a uh, stern reprimand and a clear demonstration of a boundary. And then I will remove them from my life if it continues to happen.
Yes. Yeah, that has happened several times. I have to say that I have bitten that off a couple of times. That they used to call at first they called him some horrible names when they first found out about him, and sending me messages calling him horrible things, and I did uh, snap back very aggressively because it just made me really angry, and um, now it's more so our relationship is just texting and the odd, Jesus loves you kind of thing. Um, but yeah, it's more so. I know if I ever go visit them, um, it's not going to be a pleasant visit. I drive out there for 2 hours. They're still gonna, they're still gonna bring this stuff up, and I just feel like it's hard to go and visit them. And I guess it just comes down to me being upset at the fact that, this is never gonna change, and they're gonna come to their deathbed, and it's gonna be the same sort of, tension right up until that day, and there's gonna be a lot of leftover emotions there that'll be very hard to sort of, come to terms with. Um, but that's something for the future that I need to deal with in the future. But it's still there. It's still in the back of my head, and it's always going to be there. But I've been actively trying to fight against people who have come out of religion. Um, I went through a lot of therapy myself, and recently, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I did recently volunteer for the RFR as like a helpline agent because I felt very strongly about helping other people sort of come out
Oh,
of
well,
this
good
and
for you.
same sort of abuse.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sam, I think
so I'm really
one of the things you need
about
one of the things you need to do though, Sam, just and this is relationship advice, right? And Matt had to do this and I had to do this. And fortunately for both of us, it turned out okay in the end. But relationships do need boundaries. And I think you probably do need to, before you ever go visit, have that tough phone call with your parents and say, you know what? I value this relationship and you value this relationship. Can we agree that until such time as the relationship is strong enough that we are going to have certain categories of topics that are just off topic, and allow them to pray for you, allow them to, whatever they want to do in private. But I think before you go there, you need to say, you know what, mom and dad, we're just not going to talk about my relationship at all. And we're not going to talk about who can be attracted to whom at all. And we're not going to talk about the Bible at all. And just see if you can have a visit about
mm,
normal things, about talking about your relatives and talking about your local town. And just, if you can't have a relationship that doesn't include those things, then it's probably not valuable at that point. You can continue to love each other, but the ongoing stuff doesn't work. So just, before you go visit, man, you have to set something so that it's explicit and clear that if they go over a certain boundary, that you're allowed to stand up and get in your car and drive back home.
yes.
Um,
This is
you just you,
this probably sorry.
Yeah, and and again, you kind of got to stick to it. But and let them, if they want to have a list of things that you're not going to talk about. Maybe they hate how you voted, or maybe there's some things that you do that drive them crazy. Allow them to set some things too, and just see if
Yeah.
somewhere in that Venn diagram you can still have a conversation that doesn't offend both of you. And if not, sadly, sometimes the families that we're born into aren't the families that are going to choose us in the end.
Yes. Yeah. That's definitely something I've learned over the years that you definitely choose your own family sort of thing. But yeah, unfortunately, I have had those conversations and boundary setting and all that, and it's just never worked. It's never, I set the boundaries. I go to visit. This was when they were living closer to me, and it would still come up eventually. And sometimes after 5 minutes, it would come up again. And it's like I thought I said, I don't want to talk about this. I thought we were just going to move past this and just try and have normal conversations. But then
They're
it would
never
turn
gonna
into my
respect
mum.
your boundaries if you don't enforce them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, it just ends in tears, for her
I've
sort of thing.
gotten
It's
I've
it's
gotten
just like,
much
oh,
better. I've gotten much better lately about, protecting and enforcing my boundaries, especially
yeah,
with people that, it's easier with people I don't know. Somebody on Facebook decides to, disrespect my boundaries. It's going to be knock that off, or you and I will not be speaking. And when they come back with chill out, dude, I just block them straight up. If you're not going to respect a
yeah,
simple boundary on my wall like that, I know it's more complicated with family, and I know that I'm much more likely to kind of remove myself from familial connections if that needs to. And yet I still haven't done it a lot. But I will say that if you set a boundary and they break it and you forgive them and they break it and you forgive them and they break it, you are in an abuse cycle and it won't end until you end it.
yes, yeah, yeah. Things have kind of changed a little bit these days, especially so I have 6 brothers and I had 2 sisters. One of my sisters died 2 years ago from cancer, and she was only 40
Oh, sorry.
years old. Yeah, no, it was very upsetting. But she was extremely devout Christian. One of the most wonderful people you've ever met, and I thought things would change quite a lot, given I guess the weight of all that. I thought, or maybe this will be something that sort of shows them to value the relationships they have with their kids. But on the one hand, they did talk to me a little bit more, but on the other hand, all the other baggage was still there, and that has also spurred them even more, somehow, to my own surprise, to be more forceful about what their beliefs and onto me, because now it's all about, we want to see you in heaven. Yeah, we want to see you in heaven. I was baptized by my own dad at 6 years old, and I was saved and everything. Come from very conservative Baptist past, um, and he was the preacher. He was the pastor of the church that we had when I was a kid. Got baptized, got saved, got everything, saved multiple times, and but yet they still think somehow I'm going to hell. I don't know why they think that, because we're from the religion where we know, they knew you couldn't lose your salvation and all that.
They
Yet they
they will say
still,
you were never really saved. No matter how many times you
yeah,
did it,
yeah, that's
you
pretty
didn't
much
lose
it.
your salvation.
Yep.
God didn't fail you. You failed God.
You weren't sincere enough and all that sort of stuff. I have heard all of
Yep.
that as well, and you
You
can't
you
possibly
have
be a
you
gay.
have hidden sin. You know you're gay.
Yes,
You have the hidden sin of homosexuality. You're in denial, which means every time you go to God and ask for forgiveness, you're not asking for forgiveness for being gay. And when you have done it, it clearly didn't work. And so all that is your stumbling block. That is the baggage you're carrying around
yep,
that's keeping you from a proper relationship with Christ. It will never end. You have to end it, Sam.
yep, yes. No, that's true. And I have tried to bring that up with, oh, you just need to ask God to, make you straight again, sort of thing. And I said, well, I did that once, and I was naked on the bathroom floor, bawling my eyes out, praying to for God to make me straight, basically, and nothing happened. So I bring that up with them, and I say, what was that about? You can't say I wasn't sincere. So but anyway, yeah, that's fine.
So Sam,
I
I
do
don't
get
know
what
them
you
off the top of
mean.
my head. There are studies though from Christians that would say that the least likely to convert a family member is another family member. Like it's just evangelically, it's not a thing. You can maybe assure your parents at some point that re- keep they should keep their efforts to praying for you, because it in a weird way it is a compliment if they honestly believe that you're going to hell. Then they are
Mm,
doing a loving thing, and it's messed up and it creates all kinds of problems, but in a way it's true. But so if you can kind of divert their energy to say, you know what, mom, the strategy for me to be won over is not for you to, and maybe you can look these up, that that they need to be praying for someone else to come into your life, right, for this to happen. And that
yeah,
again, that these boundaries can be respected, because they're not going to tell you anything new that that they haven't told you before. So but again, I'm with Matt though. It sure feels like you have been, by not enforcing these boundaries, that this is just going to continue as long as you let it to. And I'm worried. Yeah, I'm worried for you and your partner.
yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, as I was going to mention, I don't want to take any more time, but there was another issue with my one of my brothers, but um, who I got blamed for. He became suicidal, and I got blamed for it because he was living with me at the time, and I
Mm.
made him get a tattoo. I'm covered in tattoos, but apparently I made him get a tattoo, and he had a mental breakdown, tried to cut the tattoo out of his arm because his church told him how bad it was and how
Oh no.
sinful it was. He tried to actually cut it out, um, and then ended up cutting everywhere else on his body, and I got blamed for all that. So it was messed up. It was horrible, but yeah, that was just another issue that sort of came up with them recently, and he moved out of our house, and I'm pretty sure he's gone back to church and gone back into it all because he was having doubts. But he ended up in a psych ward. Who I actually brought him to hospital and got him locked up for for a couple of days. Because after that incident, I said, "Get in the car. We're going to the hospital, and you're going to the psych ward." And he came out of there. He was a little bit better for a while, and I really don't know the situation at the moment. He's kind of gone off the grid, but yeah. So there's a lot of things that my parents are going through, that we're going through, the siblings, but they don't seem to really be, yeah.
In light of all that,
Anyway,
definitely don't bring up satanic panic. I think you've got more fundamental or more fundamental things to work on. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Sam.
yeah,
That sounds
yeah,
that sounds sounds tricky. But I do appreciate that you are modeling the kind of positive relationships with your siblings and your parents that you would like them to have. It doesn't seem like they're catching on, but
no,
hopefully, eventually, they will realize that the Sam that they raised and that they loved is there. And
yeah,
so I applaud you for continuing that.
yes. Just really quickly, Matt, do you know who? If I said Patch the Pirate, does that mean anything to you?
I'm sorry?
Patch the Pirate.
No.
No. Ah, fuck. That must be just my denomination. I don't know, because I know you were very similar, fundamentalist Baptist sort of. But I don't know if Southern Baptist is quite the same as Independent Baptist. I'm a bit
Nope.
confused about all that, but
They are not the
not the
same.
same. No.
No.
Okay. It was a very Christian audio drama, not drama series. It was like an audio series that this fundamentalist Christian put together, and it was for kids and everything. And yeah, I was just wanted to know if you'd ever heard of it. Very, very
No.
indoctrinating.
And I'm like decades older than you, so it may not have anything to do with any of that. But we got to move on, Sam. I appreciate the
Oh,
call,
no,
and I
no,
hope
that's
you
Thanks,
all good.
Sam.
Yeah. Thank you very much for talking. I really appreciate it. Thank you.